Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for an information session on ICAN's curriculum program. My name is Britannia Mori. I'm ICAN's Director of Communications. I am also on the ICAN curriculum team and was part of the original development process. So we may have a few more people pop in, but I'm going to go ahead and get started because it's the end of the day, and I know everyone wants to hear the information and get on home. So we will get started. So ICAN is a nonprofit education organization. If you're not familiar with us, we're here in Iowa. We've been in Iowa for over 20 years, and our mission is to empower Iowans to find success in career, college, and in life. And while traditionally that mission has been met through a lot of outreach in schools and communities, through seminars and classroom presentations with students, and through our advising services in our ICAN centers. And in the last 5 years, we've been reaching out and trying to look at how we can fill gaps and help with achievement and help with post-secondary exploration and enrollment. So you can see on the screen a list of our advising services that have been offered in our centers with our student success advisors for as long as I can remember. Advising has always been at the core of ICAN's mission, and we've always been able to provide guidance and information and resources on everything having to do with career and college readiness. So career exploration, career planning, college exploration and selection, the financial aid process. We're most known for assisting with completing the FAFSA form, understanding student loans, creating college budgets, a lot of financial literacy information. All of this content knowledge and discussions with our school counseling partners and our higher ed partners here in Iowa has led us to, this next step of curriculum. And so 5 years ago, we were actually asked, it would be really great if you could take your evening seminar information and provide it in smaller segments in the classroom. And while we would love to send an ICAN person into every school every day, we just can't do that. So we started thinking about what would curriculum look like. And we have developed 22 age and grade specific lessons that cover every aspect of career and college readiness as it is defined both by the state of Iowa and by the ASCA national model for school counseling. So these lessons are designed to guide students through each step of the planning process. So we looked at career and college readiness from the late stages of 8th grade, transitioning into high school, all the way through senior year graduation and that first semester of college enrollment, and what do students need to know to understand the process of finding the right career, finding the right education and training to meet their goals. So as we designed these lessons, we looked at them as a way to build upon knowledge. So as students were progressing through this curriculum system, they could use knowledge from previous lessons to continue that personal journey. So they do build upon each other. All of the lessons work together to lay a foundation to help students make critical decisions for their life after graduation. These lessons provide guidance, activities, and resources to help students make these decisions, to help them explore their options for after high school. And as I mentioned, we looked at all of the Iowa standards, and we looked at the ASCA model mindsets and behaviors, and made sure that our lessons meet those standards so that as schools are implementing this curriculum, they're meeting the requirements that has been set forth for them. So we'll start with the Iowa definition of college and career readiness. So the state designated its own definition for what college and career readiness in Iowa should look like. So we definitely looked at this definition and made sure that as we were developing these lessons, that it fit into those 4 areas of criteria: achieving proficiency in essential content, acquiring practical transition skills, developing learning skills and cognitive strategies, and then building a strong foundation of self-understanding and engagement. So those were the 4 core areas of the Iowa definition. And as we talk more this afternoon about the Iowa curriculum, you'll see how the curriculum reflects this definition. We did go a step further than just the Iowa state definition, and we looked at what is in the Iowa Code and the requirements of Iowa schools having to do with the ICAP fulfillment. And the curriculum was designed to supplement a district's designated career information system. So there are 12 components to the ICAP reporting standards, and the ICAN curriculum meets components 5 through 12. Components 1 through 4 are specifically for the approved career information system. We are not an approved career information system. We don't have the career assessment or the 4-year planning technology or algorithms that save all of that information. But components 5 through 12, the actual exploration and planning steps, are what our curriculum focuses on. And we have been in talks for the last few years with the DOE about becoming an approved supplemental system. The process we're at now is that the DOE has decided to create a rubric to evaluate supplemental systems prior to approval. And so they are in the process of developing and approving that rubric, and then we will come back to the conversations about ICAN's approval. So while it's not an approved system, it can be used as a supplement to your approved system. And I mentioned the ASCA mindsets and behaviors. So we primarily work with school counselors in Iowa, and we know that generally school counselors are the lead for career and college readiness in their school building, and school counselors are striving to implement an ASCA model school counseling program. So we took a look at the ASCA mindsets and behaviors for student success and what that ASCA model says about K-12 college and career readiness standards for every student. So we looked at the mindset behaviors, we looked at the behavior standards for learning strategies, self-management skills, and the social skills. And we have identified how our curriculum meets both the Iowa Code and the ASCA model standards. So we do have this document that goes through each of our lessons and outlines which areas of code it satisfies and which areas of the mindsets and behaviors we feel that a specific lesson targets. When it comes to curriculum implementation, the lessons integrate career and college readiness concepts into a classroom setting. These are not designed as ICAN presentations. So this should not be thought of as mini presentations given to students. These are engaging activities and discussions. Students are active. There may be a small segment where the instructor provides some guidance or some information, but that should always lead to an activity or a discussion with the class where the students are actively engaged in whatever the topic is for that day. So it could be an individual research activity where they're looking at their own career exploration or college exploration, or it could be an activity where they're put in small groups or in partners and they're practicing interview skills or greetings or handshakes, or they're working together to learn more about a specific situation or concept. All of the lessons have a flexible design. They are designed to adapt to each school's individual needs. We recognize that there is not a one-size-fits-all, so we did not design a cookie-cutter curriculum. This is meant to be adaptable, to help you integrate into the areas that you need and that your students need most, or to fit what you need, whether it's one lesson is going to be utilized for small groups or one-on-one work, and then other lessons are going to be full classroom implementation, or it really, you can adapt this to fit your district's needs. And then the implementation is supported fully by the ICAN Curriculum team. So I'm a member of that team, as I mentioned. There are 2 other members, Megan Johnson and Mary Joan Doherty. They both were part of the original pilot and were actually the ones who went out and tested all of our lessons in our pilot schools. So you have the full implementation of the ICAN Curriculum team support for knowledge, resources, materials, anything that you think you would need. I do want to pause there before I move on to the topics covered in our curriculum and just see if anyone has any questions yet. You can raise your hand and I can unmute you, or you can type into the chat. You can do this at any point during the session as well. If you have a question, feel free to pop that into the chat and I'll address that as they come in. So now we can focus on the actual topics of the curriculum, what is covered in the ICAN curriculum program. So we break it down into 4 specific topics: career preparation and selection, academic preparation, college selection and application, and then financial literacy. So within the career preparation and selection segment, there are 6 lessons. And you can see them listed there. We have Life After High School, the big picture, which is really great to transition freshmen in their first year, but can be utilized for any grade level. We have the career assessment lessons where we talk about those career assessments, employability, and then exploring CTE and exploring apprenticeships. Now, the core concepts that are highlighted in this segment of the lessons are helping students identify a pathway versus a singular career goal. So we like to focus a lot on helping students explore the areas that they would fit in with their personality, their interests, and their skill sets, rather than having them focus on just one singular career goal. Having them focus on that pathway gives them multiple options so that as they're exploring, if they find something out about that one career, it doesn't completely deter them from their path. They have alternatives in the same general area that they can then look to if they find one that they thought they would like, turns out they're not. Another core concept in this career area is the integration of career planning into course planning and how students should utilize their 4-year plans to both meet high school graduation requirements, college admission expectations, and career preparation and skill building. So there's a lot of talk about finding the right fit, both career and college-wise, but in this section, finding a career that fits the student's personality, fits the lifestyle they want, fits the working environment that interests them. It digs a lot deeper into the ins and outs of daily activities within careers and helps students really understand what different things would be, how different things would be experienced in a career field. As I mentioned, a lot of exploration about the pathways. What is a pathway? What does it mean to be identified in a pathway? How does that help you with your exploration process? And then a full knowledge and understanding of all of your post-high school options. So not just a 4-year degree at a college, but really getting every student in your classroom engaged in the conversation by making sure every student understands college doesn't just mean 4 years. There are lots of career and technical education opportunities, both at the community college level, but then through registered apprenticeships, through on-the-job training, through the military. So just making sure that all of those post-high school options are thoroughly explored by students. The next segment is academic preparation. And so in this section, we have 4 lessons, and that would include activities resumes, study skills and test prep, a lesson on GPA and foreign language, and then social media and effective communications. Now, the core concepts around academics are not, how to get good grades or how to excel academically necessarily, although we do have that study and test prep lesson. But the core concepts around academics are explaining to students how academics fit into career and college planning, and how that information is utilized by both employers and admissions representatives to make those decisions. So linking, a lot of times we hear from students, why is this important? Why do I have to do this? Helping them link what they're doing today in the classroom to what they want to do in the future. So that's a big core concept in these academic lessons. We also talk about the awareness of their social profile and how that can impact future opportunities. Drilling in that social media isn't just fun that no one really takes seriously. We also talk about the use of proper communications, especially when we're talking about admissions or employability and things like that. The next section is financial literacy. We have 6 lessons under financial literacy right now. So we talk about budgeting, understanding credit, identity theft, taxes, and student debt. And through these lessons, we have core concepts that focus on building and understanding budgets, both a basic college student or single student budget and a family budget. So we have 2 different lessons that talk about budgeting and give different scenarios and activities for students to work through, both individually or as groups or partners. We talk about future budgeting expectations and planning So financial goal setting. In the career section, we talk about career goal setting. In financial literacy, we're going to talk about financial goal setting. We have a lesson on the 1040 income tax process because, one, it's a life skill. Everyone has to file taxes. But then we also relate that income tax process to financial aid. So there's a 2-point process in that lesson. And that one really stemmed from just understanding that as we meet with families who file the FAFSA, there's so many misunderstandings about students and taxes, if they're a dependent or not, if they can file for themselves or not, how it all gets utilized. So we included that in a lesson. Okay, so we have a question. Is the curriculum for a 1 semester length class or a full year, or it depends because you can pick and choose? So we have lessons that are for every grade level. And when I'm going to share some lesson samples here in a few minutes that will further illustrate that. You could do this as a semester class and then pick and choose which lessons you want to cover in that class for each grade level. I've had schools that implement it as homeroom, and certain lessons and topics are assigned by grade level to each homeroom to go through. It's also been used as, guidance lessons where the school counselor comes in for certain classes like English and just teaches everybody a certain lesson all the time. It can be implemented in many different ways. There is enough content that if you wanted to have it as a standalone class, you could definitely do that. Actually, I have one of our districts, they have implemented it. It is a credit course now required for graduation. It's half a credit each year, but it's not a physical class. It's something that students have to do on their own. So it's set up as a virtual class with modules that they go through all the activities, and then they touch base with their school counselor during certain segments of the lesson. So when they accomplish a certain amount of things, then they have to have a meeting with the school counselor and go over that information. So there's endless ways that you can implement this, but there definitely is enough content. If you wanted to have it as a standalone class, you could. And part of the training that comes with the first year's license goes over a lot more on implementation and different ways that you could do that. The final section is on college selection and application. So we have 6 more lessons in this section. So when we talk about college selection and application, these lessons can still apply to almost all of your students. Even if a student is headed towards more of a hands-on learning, CTE or apprenticeship, there are still aspects of the college comparisons lesson that apply to CTE. There are still scholarship opportunities for some of those programs. So a lot of this can still be utilized with all of your students. So the core concepts of the college preparation section, exploring college in terms of academic, career, and financial fit. Not just picking a college because it's your favorite sports team or it's where your family went or your best friend is going or your significant other. Really digging into why are we considering these colleges? How do they fit your plan? And by the time they've gotten to this lesson, they've already done the career exploration lessons as prerequisites. So it builds onto that. So they know what career information they're looking for. They know what programs they're looking for, and that helps them with the college aspects. Core concepts also include understanding college selection. In terms of career potential, I just mentioned that. Scholarship searches and essay writing. Preparedness for the admissions application process. The scholarship lesson and the admissions lesson are 2 really great lessons that the students actually come out of those lessons with a physical essay that they can then use when they're ready to start applying. So the curriculum not only teaches exploration skills and preparedness skills, but there are resources that students complete as part of these activities that then can go into a portfolio that when it comes time for senior year, they have a personal story essay that they wrote during the scholarship essay. During the admissions application process, we provide scholarship prompts from the Common Application. So they have to pick a topic from one of those prompts and write an essay. So they would have 2 different essays ready to go for the scholarship process. So talking about how do you prepare your students if someone was to ask you that, if a district was to ask you that, or the community was to ask how the district prepares their students. Through this program, they have 2 scholarship essays ready to go. They understand the process. If you've helped them with the admissions process, they have an activities resume, which prepares them for letters of recommendation and applications and things like that. So they're building a portfolio of resources as well. College prep also covers, we have a College 101 lesson in this, which introduces students to post-secondary institutions, their departments, some of the language and the terminology, which can remove a barrier for students that they may not vocalize is there, or that someone may not even realize they have, but that internal fear of the unknown. If they don't have a family member who's gone through the process, if they don't know what a registrar is, or they don't know that there's tutoring services available, or a career center, or an advisor, helping them understand the support systems of college, helping them understand the different departments and processes of an institution, just relieving some of those unknowns. That's the College 101 lesson, which students have really found helpful. So now I want to transition and share some lesson samples with you. I'm going to show you 2 lessons, the career assessment and then the employability. So we will start with the career assessment lesson. So each lesson has this overview page that I'm sharing here, and it gives you the lesson goals, what the student should learn, what the in-class activity is, and then what the takeaway is. If there are materials available needed, they will be listed there as well. At the top here, it tells you what grades we recommend for this lesson, and then if we recommend any prerequisites. This one is a really early lesson, so you don't really need any prerequisites. As you can see, students are going to be able to list and rank career options as related to their interests. They can describe their options for after high school and why it matters to career aspirations, identify 2 realistic post-secondary options that lead to the same career aspiration, understand the role of high school courses in their overall post-high school plan. So very specific goals. As the instructor, we provide lesson outlines. So as you familiarize yourself with the curriculum, we provide a guide to help you familiarize yourself with teaching these lessons. And once you're familiar, of course, you can go off script and implement it any way you want, but we do want to provide kind of an overview to help. And you can see on here, so career assessment is designed to be a 2-part lesson. So part 1, the first lesson might be having them do the actual assessment and what that looks like. So we kind of give you, a breakdown of maybe how long that would take. We have 2 versions of the career assessment lesson. The one I'm showing you outlines the lesson as if you're utilizing your district's designated career information system that may provide that assessment for you. At ICAN, when we're advising students, we utilize the MyACT assessment. So we do have a version of this lesson that we provide that outlines it through the MyACT lens. You can choose whichever version you want to use. But you can see it goes through, the tour and things like that and what you should be showing. And then part 2 over here is when students actually dig into those assessment results and learn what to do with them. So again, we give you the outline to guide you through the lesson. So with this lesson, many of our lessons come with handouts or worksheets that help students work through the content. So in this case, this is the handout for the career assessment lesson in which you would utilize a designated system selected by your district. So the front page talks about career assessments in general terms so that it applies to whatever form you've used. Talks about career clusters, talks about why assessments are important. And then on the back is the actual worksheet that students would complete as they're reviewing their assessment results. And there are things that we want them to go through their results and find or further research. So they're going to complete this chart. The nice thing about the ICAN curriculum worksheets is that you can print them out, download them, print them, and hand them out physically to students, or you can have them download them. If you have a virtual learning platform that your district utilizes, that students can, or like a Google Drive or something like that for students, you can simply send them the PDF and they can type their answers right into the PDF and save it, upload it back into their school system, and then have it electronically. So we want them to find their career areas. We want them to talk about what the potential major or program is that relates to those career areas, and then what are the starting salary ranges. We want them to consider the skills needed for those careers that fit their assessment goals. So what's the job? What are the hard skills? So what's the education and training required? And then what are the soft skills that are important to those careers? And they should be able to find all of this in those assessment results. There's also an optional take-home assignment. They can go home and interview a trusted employed adult that they know and learn about how others have reached their career path, or how they got where they are. Like I said, we have 2 versions of this lesson. So there is a version of the worksheet that if you would choose to use the MyACT version, then the front outlines what those assessment results look like utilizing MyACT, but the back is exactly the same. So that is one lesson example. The second lesson that I want to share is the employability lesson. And so employability, as you can see, it's recommended that the career assessment lesson comes first because there is some continued discussion about employability for specific careers, but you wouldn't have to have that. It's just a recommendation. But so the lesson goal, what are job shadows and internships? Why is it important? What employability soft skills include and why they're important? We have our in-class activities. We're doing some definitions. We're having discussions. We're practicing some skills. And then what is the takeaway? And you can see it lists the different handouts that are required for this lesson. So with this lesson, here's the lesson outline, as I mentioned, for the career assessment, where we break down, approximately, this was a 45-minute class, here's your breakdown. Here's the topics covered for each of the different slides that are provided in the PowerPoint. This is the employment section, the essential skills section, the interview section, the practice session, and then your summary. This is the employability PowerPoint, so you can see how it's not a long PowerPoint because it's meant to just be the discussion starter. You're going to talk about a slide and then let that lead into classroom discussion and activity, small group pairings and things like that. You would be able to swap out this slide if you used your own district system, but you can see we're defining what essential skills are. We're talking about job interviews, what are the questions, and all of these have presenter notes where you can see things that you can remember to mention to students as you're going through this lesson. And then this lesson has a handout that we call Employability Know the Skills. And as you're having your discussions about interview tips, you can use this handout to guide that discussion, or have students pick out different topics that jump out to them, like, well, what do you mean it's an interview? Don't talk too much. And then you have a classroom discussion on that. You can have them practice some of these skills, practice interviewing each other. We put down common interview questions down here. You can help students come up with the right answers or practice ideal answers, have them do constructive criticism and make their answers better, giving positive constructive feedback. The back side talks about the soft skills aspect of the lesson. What are soft skills and how can we develop them? And you can utilize this in your discussions. You can have students come up with ideas and ways that they think they can develop these soft skills, give them ideas of what am I already good at, what do I need to work on, and talk about all of that in terms of what employers are looking for. So those are 2 examples of lessons that are included in the curriculum program. Like I said, we have 22 at this time. So when you think about moving forward with curriculum, we have a first-year license and training fee. That license includes a curriculum binder that is a hard copy of everything in the curriculum program. So physical copies of all the PowerPoints, the lesson handouts, the outlines, the overview sheets, everything for every lesson is in that binder. So you can have a physical copy to flip through as you're doing your planning. It includes a resource guide of events and activity ideas, parent communications, and a glossary of career and college readiness terms. It includes access to our online portal, which I will share with you here. This is our online portal. It's password protected, and your license comes with the login for this. And this is where you would go to download all of your curriculum items. So you can see here, there's training resources, so electronic copies of everything that you get in your binder, along with a link to the most recent training that we will have had on the curriculum. So you participate in the training, but then you can also go back and review the recording. We've been doing these virtually, of course, so you can review a training video and see, review any topics that you may want to review. We have training videos for different electronic resources or online resources that are utilized in different lessons. So those are on there. And part of these would be for you to prepare, and part of these would be for you to share with students as they set up accounts and things like that. And then we have all the lessons, and they're outlined by section, and you would just pick whichever lesson you want, and it'll take you down to that lesson, and then you can just click and download all the different pieces that you might want. So that's the portal. And then I mentioned earlier, ongoing support and assistance for questions, best practices, and implementation from the ICAN curriculum team. And then the hands-on training day with ICAN. The training, we don't teach you how to teach the lessons because you guys are the educators. We know you know how to teach. So we cover the concepts of the lessons. We talk about how to integrate those concepts, conversations to have, best practices of the lessons, how to bring parents into the career and college readiness conversation, how to create the culture in your school or your district, how to start bridging the counseling programs K-12 and create that comprehensive program. And we have some small group activities when the training is in person. We also talk about the technology. We talk about the training videos. We review the online portal. We talk about building a career and college readiness counselor website, if that's something that you're interested in. There are two options for training with ICAN's curriculum. We have what we call the Train the Trainer. When it's in person, it's a full day session. It lasts about 6 hours. The virtual we have down to about 4 hours, but it's included with a license. It provides one seat at our regional training session. You can bring additional people, but it's designed to train one person from your building who can then go back and be the lead. We also have a building-wide training, and we've had a couple schools take advantage of this where they pay the extra $250 fee, and we go to their school and we train everyone in the school who would be involved. And that doesn't have a limit on how many can participate. How much is the curriculum differed each year? Was a question from Candy. Do you mean the price difference between each year, or does the curriculum change each year? I'll answer both. So the year one has the initial licensing and training fee, and then there is a smaller renewal fee each year. We review every lesson every year and make updates. So those updates are included in your renewal fee, as are any new lessons that would be released. For example, right now we have 22 lessons, but we're in the process of designing 2 additional lessons. So for fall of 2021, curriculum will be released with 24 lessons. And in subsequent years, your renewal fee includes any new lessons that are released under that curriculum license agreement. But as I mentioned, we review every lesson every year, and we look for things that need updated, whether it's in financial literacy and it's interest rate references, college tuition references. If it's academics or college admissions, we look at, requirements, how we talk about standardized tests. Like right now, standardized tests are optional at some schools. So how do we reference that if that becomes the norm? So every year, every lesson is reviewed and revised and updated. And then all of those updates are put into the portal for release in that fall. So that would be how it's differed each year. And I hope, Candy, that answers your question. But if not, go ahead and let me know, and I'll keep going with that answer. So the license fee, as I just mentioned, for Iowa high schools, the license fee is $1,450 per high school. This is for the first year. It includes that full access to the portal and the master binder, the 1 seat at the training session. If you want to send additional individuals from your district, the additional seats are $100, which includes the additional binder. There is some flexibility in that, so we could discuss that if that was something that you were interested in. And then currently the renewal rate is $450. This gets you that continued access to the online portal, any new and updated lessons, and then continued training and support beyond year 1. So for renewals, in a renewal year, when the new lessons are released, we provide a very short virtual training on just those new lessons. And that is included in the renewal fee. If you're an out-of-state school, which I know we have a couple registered for this today, the fee is slightly higher. It's $1,750 per high school. It includes all of the same features, but the higher price covers our adaptation to your state's needs. All of our curriculum was designed with Iowa requirements in mind. So we would work with you to remove the Iowa specific elements and put in your state specific elements. This is a map of where our curriculum is currently being used in the state of Iowa. Each county that is colored orange has at least one district that is utilizing our curriculum. So we have urban and rural districts from all parts of the state, which is, it's been really exciting to get to work with so many different districts on the implementation process. So upcoming, let's see. Okay, if school budget does not allow for renewal for a year, do we pay the $450 the following year, or will the school start over? Right now, if it's just a 1-year lapse, you can just pick up with the renewal fee and come right back in. If it's beyond a year, then we haven't reached that yet, but there might be a higher return fee, simply because there would be additional training for any new lessons that were added in the 2-year gap in which you weren't a participant. But if it's just 1 year, we had several schools this year that took, they were supposed to renew for the 2021 or 2020-2021 school year. Due to the pandemic and not even being in session, they just paused curriculum because it wasn't something that they were fully able to implement. But they're coming back now for next year because things look different and we have a better idea of how to educate during a pandemic, right? So yeah, we're flexible on that, and we'll work with you, and we'd be happy to talk to you about funding options as well. We've had lots of districts get very creative, whether they're using their regional planning partnership dollars because of the connection to CTE, or they're using their school foundation, or they applied for a grant or something like that. So there's lots of funding options out there that we'd be happy to talk to you about as well. So upcoming virtual training dates. So we do have one coming up here in April 12th. The registration deadline for that is April 5th, so that we can mail out those binders ahead of time. Right now, all of our upcoming trainings are virtual. So if you participate in the April 12th, you would still get the new lessons under that licensing fee in the fall, and we would invite you to the renewal training for the 2 lessons that you wouldn't learn about at the April training. So that would be included in that. Then we have 2 fall dates, August 10th and September 9th. So those are the 3 dates that we currently have scheduled, and those would be the general training dates. If you wanted to do a training just for your school, then you would just contact me and we would come up with a date that works for you for that additional $250 fee. So you can register for those virtual training dates at the curriculum website, icansucceed.org/curriculum. And that is the overview that I have for today. If you have any questions about curriculum following this, you can contact me. There's my email address and my phone number. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have right now as well. I do want to thank you for taking some time out of your afternoon. I know 4 o'clock on a Wednesday can be, it's the end of the day. So I appreciate you taking your time today and joining me. Does anyone have any questions before we sign off for the day? Okay. Well, again, I will thank you for joining me, and I will wish you a great evening. So have a nice evening, and I will talk to you all soon, I hope. Have a great day.